Hello and welcome back to another episode. So a few months ago I spoke about why I sold one of my favourite Fuji cameras, the X-T3, mainly because it was just gathering dust, I wasn't using it. But today I want to talk about why I'm selling another one of my Fuji cameras. Yeah, more on that a bit later on. But I also want to talk about what I think the future holds for Fujifilm, because I think it's a very interesting time in the camera industry right now. Also, I'm testing out a budget-friendly tripod as well a bit later on in the video, and a big thanks to K&F Concept for sponsoring this week's video. So if you're new to the channel, I've been using Fujifilm since the X-T2 first came out, which is when I switched over from full frame cameras. Now I switched because I wanted a smaller, more lightweight setup for my photography work. Now my work is mainly landscape photography, but I also collaborate with brands on various projects as well. My current setup consists of my main camera, which is my Fuji X-H2, and my backup, which is my Fuji X-S10. And I think it's a nice combo that's served me really well for several years now. So for my line of work, I really need to have two cameras that can do really well at both videography and photography. And I think for the most part, the X-S10 and the X-H2 here do really well on both of those fronts. You know, the Eterna footage that comes out of these cameras is perfect for creating YouTube videos and, you know, client work. I think it's great for that. It needs very little post-production work. Its colours, I think, look very natural. The photos are also really nice out of both of these cameras. I don't have an issue at all, and they're perfect for the work that I do, which is landscape photography, and also for clients as well. So I guess you might be thinking, why the flipping hell are you selling one if you like them both so much? And that is a very good question. I think the sunglasses were a bit optimistic today, to say the least. Serving more as a hairband than actually their real purpose. But the cows are standing up, and that is always a good sign, isn't it? I'm hopeful that we can get some photos today. It's really gloomy at the minute, but it was the same last night and it ended up being lovely, so keeping my fingers crossed. Please do the same, because I think we're going to need it. Still great to be out though, nonetheless. Beautiful down here. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The X-H2 is my workhorse camera. You know, I use it for everything, and it's great, to be honest. And I really see no need for me to change this camera. But like many do-it-all things in this world, sometimes they can lack something in terms of the user experience. You know, take a family car, for example. You know, it gets you from A to B. It's able to accommodate everything you need for your family, but it's not the most inspirational piece of equipment when you compare it to something like a 1970s split-screen VW, for example. My point is, the X-H2 is a fantastic camera and I wouldn't be without it. But I look at it simply as a tool to get the job done, you know, nothing more than that really. And here lies my problem, you know. The X-S10 is basically a slightly scaled down version of what I already have. You know, a willing substitute, but it rarely gets an outing outside of filming some footage in my studio. Now, definitely nothing special with that last shot there, but it was nice just to get the camera out of the bag and take a photo. But anyway, yeah, it will be the X-S10 that I'll be letting go. And that's not because it's a bad camera, far from it. Mainly because it's so similar to what I already use in the X-H2. Oh wow, this is lovely. So I've given in the rain jacket and the hat are on, the sunglasses are back in the bag. I don't think they'll be coming out for the rest of the day, but you never know. It's brighter over that way, but it's raining this way, and this is the way we're heading, and this is the way that the clouds are coming from as well. So yeah, but anyway, I think there's a shot down here. Some lovely colours. These rocks are absolutely fabulous, but yeah, it's very drizzly and miserable down there at the minute, so maybe we'll come back to this. But anyway, yeah, I think, going back to what I was saying, I think I'm looking for a camera that maybe offers a different shooting experience to what I already have. So yeah, something that can do pretty much what the X-H2 can do, so it's a worthwhile backup, but yeah, offer me a different experience. And I think that is one of the key things about today's sort of little chat we're having, I think. So I think I'm looking for a camera that might just give me that spark of inspiration. You know, a camera that looks amazing, something maybe with a bit of a smaller footprint, something that shouts at me, you know, to go and grab it, pick it up and go out on a photo walk or something like that. So yeah, I really want to stay within the Fuji X system though, because I want all of my lenses to be able to work on both cameras, especially when I go on like a photography trip or something like that. I don't want to be taking two systems with me. That doesn't really work. So yeah, I want to stay within the same system, and Fuji is working really well for me, has done for many years, so see no need to change. But yeah, if you've got any suggestions, please do let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know your input on this. Yeah, I'm really looking for a camera that just gives me that bit of a spark of inspiration to go out and shoot. So I wasn't really sure where to come today, you know. I just kind of looked on OS Maps, picked a spot and thought, I've not been there before, let's give it a go and see what happens. But this place here is an old Iron Age hill fort, so it'd be really interesting to explore here and see what we can find. It looks absolutely amazing. So we're right on top of this old fort. Obviously there's nothing here now, it's just basically the foundations, but the view back this way looks absolutely amazing. We've got Barafundle at the back there, which looks great, and a slither of light as well, which is quite nice. I've got some amazing little flowers down here, which I'm using for my foreground interest. I've got the Viltrox 13mm lens on. Camera's on the tripod because I need to focus stack this image. I'm taking 2 or 3 different shots here. One focused on the flowers, another in my midground, and then one at the background there. Stitch those images together in Photoshop later. Currently I'm at f8, 80th of a second, ISO 125. So let's not dwell, let's take this shot. Focus on the flowers, 2-second timer, of course. One down there on the midground. And another on those cliffs in the background there. And my hat nearly went then. You know, I think it's a very interesting time for the camera industry, and I've got some thoughts about why I think the future looks bright for Fujifilm in a saturated, declining camera market. But more on that in just a bit. So as mentioned, I'm trying out one of K&F Concepts tripods today, and they are very kindly sponsoring this week's episode. Now, if you're not familiar with K&F Concept, they offer a wide range of photography equipment, from filters to cleaning equipment, lens cloths, tripods, bags, you name it, they stock it, and they're all at very affordable prices, but the quality is very reliable too, and that's why I keep coming back to them. The tripod I've brought along today is their 76-inch aluminium travel tripod, which is part of their more budget-friendly range. And one of the things I really like about K&F is that they cater for everyone, whether you're just getting started in photography or you're working professionally. This tripod weighs about 1.65 kilograms, it extends to almost 195 centimeters and still manages to support up to 8 kilograms, which is more than enough for my camera setup. While some parts are made from plastic, which you'd expect at this price point, it does feel well built, intuitive to use, and it's held up nicely out here in the field today. It also comes with a few really useful extras, like an extendable arm for top down or lay flat shots, and a phone holder, which is great for behind the scenes content. So if you're looking for an affordable, practical tripod like this, or would just like to explore K&F Concepts range, be sure to check out the link in my video description. And a massive thanks to K&F Concept for sponsoring this week's video. Right, time to see if we can find another shot. And the conditions are getting a little bit brighter. So yeah, I think we're in for a treat this evening. Things have definitely changed quite a bit over the last hour or so, but I did try and explore a little bit on the other side, but amongst all this bracken there's some very deep holes, and I'm a little bit concerned that there might be some caves underneath this, and I really don't want to, like, you know, fall through. So I'm going to make my way back down here and see what else we can find on the coastal path. So I think it's fair to say camera sales appear to be on a downward slope, don't they? Now, it was obviously difficult for me to gather all of the data on this, but after a bit of research, the table here backs up my thoughts. I think if we exclude the 2021 spike, which was obviously a strange year or a strange time for many reasons, it does look like there's a gradual decline over the past 10 years or so. And I think that's mostly to do with how good the smartphone has become, and also the need to upgrade a camera has become a lot less desirable for many people. These are just, of course, a couple of reasons that I can think of. There are probably many others as well. You know, cameras have gotten so good now, haven't they, that I think maybe it's a little less desirable for people to actually want to upgrade. You know, megapixels used to be a big sell, didn't it? You know, camera companies were always competing to see who could pack the most megapixels into a camera, and obviously that's still the case, but really any more than 40 or 50 megapixels is often more of a hindrance than a help to many people. So I think, yeah, the need to upgrade is becoming less desirable. I mean, we will of course see improved autofocus, better low light performance and better dynamic range, and also probably better stabilisation in newer models. But I think the reality is these improvements I think will be fairly marginal because cameras are already so good, aren't they? It looks to me like Fujifilm and some other brands as well have realised that improvements to cameras in terms of specs has kind of plateaued. You know, how much more do they really need to improve these cameras? And are these improvements going to entice people enough to actually want to part with their hard-earned cash? So as mentioned, you know, I'm looking for a different camera to complement the X-H2. And, you know, I'm looking for a different experience. And I think this is where Fujifilm are really doubling down their efforts. I think that's where they see the future of the camera industry, not necessarily in the latest and greatest specs, but the experience a camera can offer. And I think that is going to be really important going forward. Now, they've been doing this for many years, of course, but it seems more recently they're going all in on providing a different photography experience. You know, the X-Half is a good example of this, so is the X100 series. These cameras are all about the experience, aren't they? Not so much about competing for the most megapixels or the top of the line autofocus. And I can only see that this is what will be the most important thing in years to come. Look at the light over there. What a difference a few hours can make. Let's see if we can get down there. It certainly feels like we might get some good colour in the clouds tonight. It's very clear out to the west. There's a lot of high cloud around, so yeah, you never know. We might get a nice colourful sunset. So I've got to work really quick here. There's some lovely light hitting the cliff faces in the background. Some wonderful calm patterns in the sea. Just going to throw the telephoto lens on, shoot it handheld, and just rest on this fence here. It definitely feels like it's going to kick off the sky. Some lovely pinkish tones in it right now. I think the light is pretty much down now, so I'm going to make my way down here, see what else we can find. Maybe concentrate on the reflected light for the last 20 minutes or so. Oh, what a beautiful sunset. You don't always need to point towards the light. I keep telling myself that. So the colours are just popping off right now, and I'm opting to do a panorama through this bay here. So yeah, it's looking lovely right now. I'm just shooting it handheld. Just been very careful. I get plenty of overlap as I sweep through the composition. So I've been racing around trying to find a composition for a while. I think now the best of the colour has passed, which is often the case, isn't it? By the time you find the ideal spot, the conditions have faded. But I still think it's a nice shot, some lovely pink hues in the sky which complement these blue tones that we've got reflecting off the blue sky, which is above. And I found two rocks that I think complement each other, and yeah, I think it looks quite nice. Definitely something to return to, I think, if I don't get what I'm looking for tonight. But yeah, I'm going to take this shot now. Currently I'm at 1/3 of a second, which is why I've got the tripod set up, and I'm just waiting for some of the water to come in. I'm just getting a little bit of motion blur as well, which is pretty nice, I think. Now, obviously, you know, these are just my opinions on cameras. They're not necessarily hard facts or anything like that. And, you know, when we're talking about the experience of photography, this is not for everyone, you know. Some people might think that, you know, film simulation dials and, you know, shiny camera bodies are not necessarily for them. And I think that's absolutely fine as well, isn't it? Everybody's a little bit different. But I think it seems like Fujifilm have really doubled down on the idea that people are really interested in the experience of shooting with different cameras, and I think the future is definitely rosy for Fujifilm. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the photos from today. I've no idea what they turned out like. Hopefully they're okay. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, you might like the one that's at the top here, or you might like to check out my ebook as well. Anyway, if you really did enjoy it, please be sure to give it a like, because that really does help me out, and it kind of, I guess, it, you know, gets the algorithm a bit more interested in my videos, and it kind of helps them reach other people like you. So yeah, thanks so much for that in advance. Anyway, I hope to see you all again next week.